Swallowed Star Episode 230. The Lava Demon God Appears. The three Universe Masters were completely trapped by Luo Feng's scheme, and Luo Feng's silver-winged supreme treasure shook the entire universe ocean. Just as Luo Feng was being surrounded and hunted by the three Universe Masters, the Lava Demon God suddenly emerged from the magma sea. The three Universe Masters were so frightened that they immediately tried to flee. The Lord of Five Hues was furious. If the Lava Demon God had not suddenly interfered, they might have already seized Luo Feng's supreme treasure wings. But just as the three of them turned around and prepared to escape at full speed, Luo Feng's golden domain and sea of flames locked them down tightly, causing their speed to drop sharply. The Lord of Five Hues was shocked and enraged. He turned back toward Luo Feng and finally realized that Luo Feng had been secretly obstructing them. Without interference, he still had a chance to escape, but after being delayed like this, he would absolutely miss the timing for teleportation. Luo Feng's voice spread through the golden domain as he declared that none of them should even think of leaving today. The Lord of Ultimate Arrow and 𝐒𝐚𝐥𝐿 instantly panicked. The former did not want to die for nothing, while the latter hurriedly tried to distance himself from the situation, claiming that he had already given up the pursuit long ago. The Lord of Five Hues suppressed his anger and questioned whether Luo Feng intended to drag everyone down together. He said that with the Five Hue realm combined with the Water Ripple Prison, he could suppress Luo Feng. If Luo Feng truly forced him into a corner, he would collide directly with Luo Feng's miniature universe, and at that point, none of them would be able to escape. He claimed that he had already lived for nearly 3 reincarnation eras and was close to his limit anyway, while Luo Feng was still young. Dying together like this would not be worth it for Luo Feng. The Lord of Ultimate Arrow and 𝐒𝐚𝐥𝐿 also tried to smooth things over, urging Luo Feng to focus on escaping first. But Luo Feng did not buy it at all. He laughed and replied that he also had avatars. If they wanted a stalemate, then so be it. At worst, they could all die together. In the brief moment they exchanged words through divine power, the Lava Demon God had already drawn much closer. This being's strength was terrifying to the extreme, almost like a humanoid supreme true treasure. It had long reached the level where raw power could break through all techniques. The moment it emerged from the magma sea, one foot stepped down onto the black rocky ground. That overwhelming pressure felt as if it had landed directly on the hearts of the three Universe Masters, making them even more anxious. The Lord of Five Hues was both shocked and furious. He threatened Luo Feng, saying that if they truly died together, he would hunt down every single one of Luo Feng's avatars in the future. Luo Feng instead mocked him, saying that this kind of pressure would be perfect training. In the future, he would step over the Lord of Five Hues and break through to become a universe strongest. Seeing the Lava Demon God getting closer and closer, the arrogant Lord of Five Hues ultimately could not bear to abandon the supreme treasures he had accumulated over nearly 3 reincarnation eras. He finally lowered his head and compromised. He promised that as long as Luo Feng released the domain suppression, he would swear never to pursue him again. He was even willing to hand over one pinnacle supreme treasure. The Lord of Ultimate Arrow and 𝐒𝐚𝐥𝐿 hurriedly begged as well. 𝐒𝐚𝐥𝐿 was filled with regret, wishing he had never stayed behind just to watch the excitement, only to throw his own life into danger for nothing. But when Luo Feng saw this, the smile on his face disappeared, replaced by a fierce killing intent. He asked them in return, when they tried to seize his supreme treasure and hunt him to death, why had they never thought of giving him a way out? Then Luo Feng set his own conditions. If they wanted to leave, the Lord of Five Hues had to hand over the Water Ripple Prison, the Forbidden Chan Palace, and the Annihilation God Armor. The Lord of Ultimate Arrow had to hand over the Blade Core Realm. 𝐒𝐚𝐥𝐿 had to hand over the Golden Wind Armor. The moment these words came out, all 3 of them froze. This was especially true for the Lord of Five Hues. Each of those treasures was part of his core foundation. The Annihilation God Armor was even his lifeline, comparable to a unique object. There was no way he could hand it over. The footsteps of the Lava Demon God grew louder and louder. Each step crossed nearly 10 billion kilometers, and its figure rapidly expanded in their field of vision. Forced into a dead end, the Lord of Five Hues roared and unleashed his full power, scattering Luo Feng's golden domain and sea of flames. But because of that brief 1-second delay, the Lava Demon God was already right in front of them. 𝐒𝐚𝐥𝐿, who was at the very back and closest to the Demon God, had despair filling his voice. As the lava demon god closed in at terrifying speed, Luo Feng, the Lord of Five Hues, and the Lord of Ultimate Arrow all fully recognized reality. They had already missed their only chance to escape. That short 1-second stalemate had directly cost them the best opportunity to flee into the underground cave and break free. Now, there was no longer any safe path of retreat. At this moment, the four of them were extremely close to one another. 𝐒𝐚𝐥𝐿, who had transformed into a golden one-horned lizard, was closest to the lava demon god. Luo Feng followed close behind, while the Lord of Five Hues and the Lord of Ultimate Arrow were slightly farther away. But the distance between all four was less than 10 billion kilometers. For the enormous and unbelievably fast lava demon god, that distance was nothing more than a single step. Earlier, Luo Feng had said that as long as the three of them handed over the supreme treasures they carried, he would let them leave. But those treasures were the core foundations they had accumulated over countless years. None of them was willing to abandon them so easily. In this desperate situation, all three sides chose to fight for survival and struggle for the final slim chance of life. 𝐒𝐚𝐥𝐿, who was in the greatest danger, was the first to resist. He activated the beast god form created from his supreme treasure, the golden wind armor, and continuously expanded his body in an attempt to withstand the crisis. On the other side, the Lord of Five Hues took out his pinnacle flying palace supreme treasure, the forbidden 𝐒𝐚𝐥𝐿 Palace, and called for the Lord of Ultimate Arrow to hide inside with him, relying on its protection to avoid the pursuit. Luo Feng also quickly revealed his trump card. He summoned the Star Tower, disguised as a blood-red pyramid, and entered it together with his golden-horned beast avatar. The three sides each prepared themselves to withstand the impact of the lava demon god. At this moment, the lava demon god displayed its terrifying might. Wherever it passed, the earth shattered and space distorted. The battle intent and willpower shock radiating from its body were extremely powerful. None of the four great experts dared to meet its gaze, or their own strength would be greatly suppressed. After locking onto its target, the lava demon god kicked out violently. The power of that strike was so overwhelming that it was almost impossible to resist. It directly inflicted heavy damage on the enormous golden one-horned lizard. The golden wind armor, a top-tier supreme treasure, was damaged on the spot, and 𝐒𝐚𝐥𝐿's divine body was shattered into countless droplets. The lava demon god did not stop there. It stepped down on the ground again, destroying the vast majority of the scattered droplets of 𝐒𝐚𝐥𝐿's divine body. Taking advantage of the moment when the demon god was focused on attacking 𝐒𝐚𝐥𝐿, the Lord of Five Hues, the Lord of Ultimate Arrow, and Luo Feng, who were hidden inside the forbidden 𝐒𝐚𝐥𝐿 Palace and Star Tower, immediately shot upward and plunged into the magma sea above to avoid being chased. No one expected 𝐒𝐚𝐥𝐿 to survive by relying on his unique racial talent. He was a one-of-a-kind special life form. His divine body could greatly weaken physical impact, and when combined with the support of a supreme treasure, he was almost undying. Long before the golden wind armor shattered, he had already decomposed his divine body into countless droplets. Even though 90% of his divine body had been destroyed, a small portion of the droplets still seeped deep underground, crossing more than 200 light-years and successfully escaping. After surviving the disaster, 𝐒𝐚𝐥𝐿 suffered devastating losses. Only about 10% of his divine body remained. His life-bound supreme treasure, the golden wind armor, was completely destroyed and lost, causing his strength to decline sharply. His heart was filled with hatred. He blamed everything on Luo Feng and the Lord of Five Hues. He hated Luo Feng for desperately entangling everyone and dragging them into a dead end. He also resented the Lord of Five Hues for failing to kill Luo Feng earlier. He secretly swore to take revenge. He planned to expose Luo Feng's hidden top-tier silver-winged supreme treasure and loudly spread the humiliation of the Lord of Five Hues' crushing defeat, making both of them lose all face. At the same time, the Lord of Five Hues and the Lord of Ultimate Arrow, who were hiding inside the forbidden 𝐒𝐚𝐥𝐿 Palace, were carefully moving through the magma sea to escape. The Lord of Five Hues knew very well that they had to break through the magma sea, which contained 7 layers of deadly tribulations, and reach the dangerous flame water lake. This was their only path to survival, and the entire journey was filled with extreme danger. He also placed all of his resentment on Luo Feng. Luo Feng, however, found an escape route that belonged specifically to him. According to records left behind by earlier experts, Ordinary powerful beings who crossed the magma sea would have to face 6 deadly tribulations and were extremely likely to perish. But Luo Feng possessed the supreme true treasure Star Tower. He did not fear the terrifying grinding force at the core of the magma vortex. By using the vortex's power, he could travel rapidly and head straight to Flame Water Lake. This path, which appeared to be the most dangerous, instead became the safest escape route for him. As long as he took a slight detour, he could smoothly leave this deadly place. Luo Feng hid inside the Star Tower, which was disguised as a blood-red pyramid, and was forcefully pulled into the core of a giant vortex deep within the magma sea. Inside the tower's control room, Luo Feng and the golden-horned beast clearly felt the tower shaking violently. The degree of danger was comparable to the blade storm he had previously experienced in the wing space. At this moment, Luo Feng completely confirmed that the records left behind by predecessors were true. The core of the magma vortex was indeed the most dangerous region in the entire magma sea. Ordinary Pinnacle Palace Supreme treasures could not withstand the grinding force here. Only a rare Supreme Palace treasure like Star Tower could pass through safely. At the same time, he secretly wondered about the Lord of Five Hues and the others, curious whether they could rely on an ordinary Pinnacle Supreme treasure to luckily survive this deadly region. Unlike Luo Feng's rapid breakthrough, the Lord of Five Hues and the Lord of Ultimate Arrow, hiding inside the Forbidden Chan Palace, had an extremely difficult journey. They did not have the acceleration of the vortex core. They could only rely on their own supreme treasure to resist the erosion of the magma sea. Even after spending a long time, they had completed less than 1/10,000th of the journey. The two of them fully activated their own Pinnacle Domain supreme treasures, but in the face of the violent magma, they could still only protect a very small area. They had no way to completely isolate themselves from danger. The long torment of this desperate situation caused the Lord of Ultimate Arrow to fall into complete despair. He only had his original body and had no avatar as backup, so he constantly feared that he would perish. By contrast, the Lord of Five Hues, who had avatars and a much deeper foundation, remained relatively steady. While controlling the Forbidden Chan Palace and the Water Ripple Prison for dual defense, he also used various secret techniques he had spent nearly 3 reincarnation eras creating, responding to each crisis along the way with targeted methods. He endured bitterly the entire time, all to preserve the supreme treasures and cultivation he had accumulated over his lifetime. In just over 5 minutes, Luo Feng used the extreme speed of the vortex passage to charge out of the burning magma sea with Star Tower and plunged into the freezing waters of Flame Water Lake. The impact generated by that ultra-high-speed collision was powerful enough to crush a top-tier palace supreme treasure. The environment, constantly alternating between extreme heat and extreme cold, was even more dangerous. But Star Tower withstood all of it steadily. Under the continuous suppression of resistance, the tower gradually slowed down and finally hovered steadily above Flame Water Lake. After Luo Feng walked out of Star Tower and returned to his normal form, he confirmed that he had successfully reached the new dangerous region, Flame Water Lake. The weight hanging over his heart finally dropped. He knew this adventure had been well worth it. Not only had he escaped successfully, but he had also dealt a heavy blow to the arrogant Lord of Five Hues. The other party was still trapped inside the layered deadly tribulations of the magma sea, and would most likely have to suffer for several more days. Whether he could survive or not was still unknown. Afterward, Luo Feng quickly sorted through the information related to Flame Water Lake. Although this region was considered dangerous, it was far less perilous than God-destroying Ravine. While it contained nearly 100 hidden threats, most of them were limited in danger. The only truly fatal crisis was the frozen lake thunderfire that descended at irregular intervals. This azure flame carried thunder and extreme cold, powerful enough to destroy top-tier palace supreme treasures. Even universe's strongest beings did not dare to withstand it head-on. However, it moved slowly, gave obvious warnings, and most areas of Flame Water Lake allowed teleportation. For a universe master with sufficient strength, it was generally not a fatal threat. What made Flame Water Lake even more special was that although its danger level was relatively low, various supreme treasures often appeared there. The rewards from its opportunities far exceeded the risks, so powerful forces had long stationed experts here to wait. Just as Luo Feng was investigating his surroundings, the expert stationed in this airspace sensed the disturbance. A super expert from another race, with 4 faces and 16 arms, teleported into existence. He quickly locked onto Luo Feng's figure and immediately rushed toward him at high speed. A new confrontation was about to begin. Just as Luo Feng was preparing to leave Flame Water Lake, he saw a massive golden stream of light rapidly approaching from the distance. The other party's body was over 1,000 kilometers tall, forming a sharp contrast with Luo Feng's 10-meter-tall figure. Luo Feng could see the newcomer's appearance clearly at a glance. He instantly recognized this person as an expert from the Purple Moon Holy Land. As one of the 2 top holy lands in the Universe Ocean, the Purple Moon Holy Land possessed overall strength far beyond ordinary reincarnation era forces and held an extraordinary status. The core race of the Purple Moon Holy Land was the Purple Moon race. The number of arms and faces a member possessed directly corresponded to the purity of their bloodline and their rank within the race. Among them, 4 faces and 16 arms represented an upper-grade bloodline. However, for experts who had broken through to become universe masters, racial rank no longer mattered. Unlike powerful beings from the reincarnation eras of the original universe, the universe masters of the 2 holy lands could live through countless reincarnation eras. They were only restricted by their own miniature universes and could never break through to become universe strongest. Their endless lifespans caused the personalities of Holy Land experts to vary widely, but deep in their bones, they all carried an innate arrogance. Luo Feng quickly identified the newcomer as Lord Fenglong, an upper-tier universe master from the Purple Moon Holy Land. His strength was on the same level as the Lord of Five Hues and the Lord of Star River. The overall quality of the Purple Moon Holy Land's universe masters was extremely high. Their lowest standard was already at the level of the Lord of Ice Peak. A powerhouse like the Primal Chaos City leader could only be considered above average among them. There were even peak universe masters in the clan who possessed supreme true treasures. Their overall foundation far surpassed the 3 great reincarnation eras. Luo Feng also understood that their strength did not come from overwhelming talent. It was simply built through accumulation over countless reincarnation eras. After Lord Fenglong landed, his gaze deliberately lingered on Luo Feng's silver-winged supreme treasure, making Luo Feng secretly cautious. Luo Feng deliberately maintained a friendly attitude, unwilling to form enmity with the Purple Moon Holy Land. He knew this force had many experts and was extremely united. Once he became their enemy, he would easily be surrounded and hunted. Fortunately, Lord Fenglong had no intention of seizing his treasure. He merely informed Luo Feng that Flame Water Lake was territory of the Purple Moon Holy Land and told him to leave as soon as possible. Luo Feng immediately agreed and smoothly withdrew. After leaving the confrontation behind, Luo Feng sighed inwardly that this Holy Land expert was at least reasonable, then continued traveling at full speed. He activated the Golden Kingdom to stabilize the surrounding space and used the spatial fluctuations in the area to teleport repeatedly. However, because many parts of Flame Water Lake had solidified space and hidden dangers, he could not teleport over long distances. He could only advance section by section. According to his estimate, crossing the entire Flame Water Lake would take 1 or 2 months. While Luo Feng continued steadily on his journey, shocking news spread through the first reincarnation era, shaking many powerful experts. To take revenge on Luo Feng, 𝐒𝐚𝐥𝐿 took the initiative to spread the details of the battle. He claimed that Luo Feng had relied on a heaven-defying silver-winged supreme treasure to heavily injure him, and had even forced the Lord of Five Hues and the Lord of Ultimate Arrow into a desperate situation. He openly declared that Luo Feng's winged supreme treasure was of an extremely high grade, nearly comparable to a supreme true treasure. The news quickly spread across all major forces, leaving countless veteran experts deeply shocked.